Evening from New York, I'm Chris Hayes. No one should be surprised by what is likely going to happen in the U.S. Senate tonight, but everyone should be outraged. Republicans are planning to block a procedural vote to filibuster the attempt to create an independent commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This is a black and white issue. It's not morally complex. There's no actual justification for the vast majority of the Republican caucus to take this extraordinary step of filibustering a completely bipartisan commission to investigate the worst frontal assault on the peaceful transfer of power in this country's history, at least since the Civil War. Remember, for months, okay, right, it's May right now. We're getting to this in May for this reason, because for months, Democrats negotiated with House Republicans in good faith. Benny Thompson was on this show talking about those negotiations. Negotiated to reach a deal to investigate the attack. Congressman John Katko, a Republican of New York, is the guy who led those negotiations for his party. Katko, the Republican, hammered out all the details with his Democratic counterpart, Benny Thompson of Mississippi. And Congressman Katko did all this at the behest, in communication with House Leader Kevin McCarthy, who then just turned around and told the whole Republican caucus to vote against the commission. Here's Congressman Katko urging his colleagues to vote for it.
We must find answers to the many questions surrounding that day. What information was known leading up to January 6th? Why was that information not shared with the proper entities? Why were Capitol Police officers left so unprepared? Who failed to provide them with support? Why did it take so long for reinforcements to come to their aid? How can we improve the decision-making and bureaucracy that is clearly hampering the Capitol Police and security of the Capitol complex? How can we ensure that the Capitol, members of Congress, and our staffs are secure from attacks? And how do we ensure that this is a safer place for members of the Capitol Police Force who risk their lives every day to protect us?
I mean, those seem like good questions you'd want the answer to. Eventually, 35 House Republicans crossed party lines, joined with Democrats in a bipartisan vote to back the bill. But over in the Senate, the bill always seemed unlikely to succeed, at least an uphill battle, partly because of the filibuster. You have Republican Senators Mitt Romney of Utah and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. They said they would support the House-passed bill. Maine's Susan Collins had expressed her willingness to do the same, but only if the House bill would consider some changes, in the hope those tweaks would prompt more Republicans to get behind it. But in the end, looks like that's not going to work. Now, again, there's no reason not to vote for a bipartisan commission to create a 10-person panel, evenly split, 5 positions selected by Democratic congressional leaders, 5 selected by their Republican counterparts, that would follow the model of the independent 9/11 Commission to undertake an inquiry into what stands out in American history as an essentially unprecedented attack. A mob at the president's direction storming the Capitol to attempt to overturn a Democratic election to install the loser in power over the winner and against the will of the people. I mean, this is obvious even to Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who put it this way, quote, "There is no excuse for any Republican to vote against this commission, since Democrats have agreed to everything they asked for. Mitch McConnell has made this his political position, thinking it will help his 2022 elections. They do not believe the truth will set you free, so they continue to live in fear." Now, none of that justification matters to Republicans because we are not having an argument here where people can be persuaded. This is a completely amoral calculus. It is the same one Republicans have been making since 2015. Even as the family of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Police officer who suffered 2 strokes after being sprayed in the face with an unknown substance and lost his life a day after he confronted rioters in the insurrection, even as his mother and longtime partner went through the halls of Congress today, essentially door to door, to personally lobby Republican senators, it was not enough.
I want them to be thinking about Brian Sicknick, Officer Liebengood, and Officer Jeffrey Smith. They sacrificed their lives that day. They really did. Doesn't matter that Brian's cause of death was natural. He still died defending them that day.
Usually I'm staying in the background and I couldn't stay quiet anymore.
It appears those efforts, those heartfelt efforts by those individuals will come to naught. According to a CNN report, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is whipping against the January 6th Commission, personally asking Republicans to consider it a personal favor, a no vote. Now, There are several different ways in which this is obviously preposterously hypocritical, right? You can point to the assault by militias, right, on our consulate in Libya and Benghazi, right? Remember that? An attack that cost 4 Americans their lives and occasioned years and years of Republican inquiry and a special committee and a remarkable 11 hours of testimony by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And yet an assault on our own capital by Americans at the direction of then sitting president that resulted in the deaths of 5 people. That doesn't matter. To hammer the point home, a progressive veterans group put together an ad with audio of Republicans demanding a Benghazi investigation over video of the January 6th insurrection.
What I think we ought to do is complete the investigation and find out what exactly happened. And I think we have a sense of what happened. We know there was inadequate security, and we know the administration kind of made up a tale here in order to make it seem like it wasn't a terrorist attack. I think that's worthy of investigation, and the investigations ought to go forward.
Now, you can also point to the fact that during President Trump's second impeachment hearing, remember that just a few months ago, Republicans, in their abject cowardice, love to say, as an excuse for voting against the impeachment, that it was happening too fast. They needed to slow down and enter more facts into evidence. Oh, you went too fast. We didn't get all the facts. We should get all the facts. We should have an investigation. You're putting the cart before the horse. Now the opportunity for investigating all the facts is coming to them. They're saying, oh, no, we're already past that. We moved on. OK, but all this, remember, is being reverse engineered around the sheer political fact, which is this. And it's I don't like saying it, but it's true. Donald Trump, one of the worst men to ever occupy the office of president, arguably the worst. He's in the running. He's in the conversation. A man who has been impeached twice, never happened before, who oversaw literally the deadliest year in American history and capped it all off by attempting to overturn an election and 220 years of American democracy. That man, Donald Trump, he still controls the Republican Party. No one reads his blog. I don't know what he does in Mar-a-Lago. No one really cares about his takes, as they shouldn't. But there he is. And the reason is he fully embodies the base of the party, their worldview and their grievances and their hatreds. And it does not matter what happens. There is nothing that would pry it apart. They had one chance. They had it. It was given to them to make a clean break. That was during the impeachment. They had it. You could have voted to convict Mitch. You could have voted to disqualify him from future office, and then he would have no power. But you didn't. And so now he is your king. And as king, you are his soldiers. And as soldiers, you must defend him from an inquiry that would obviously show horrible things about a horrible man. And so here we are.